Scotty, I have very few words for what's transpired over the last 48 hours. It's a magical time of year because there are no games being played, but there are games being played. You know what I'm saying?
Lots of games.
Lots of
That's
games.
right.
We are less than a week out from free agency opening, but it feels like the frenzy has already begun. Um, Teams coming out of the combine weekend and immediately splash after splash. Things we thought were rumors ended up not being rumors. Things we had no idea about ended up coming to fruition. And there's too much to get into. And unfortunately, today's show is going to be very, very NFL top heavy, NFL heavy. Do you want to give me the baseball lockout update first, and then we'll jump in?
Yeah. Quick update. Not a lot going on. They're still negotiating. They haven't canceled any new games yet because they think that they might be able to get something done, but there's still no headway. So that's it.
Excellent. All right. Well, let's start with the boring stuff first. Franchise tags. So, for those of you who don't know what a franchise tag is, every team has one franchise tag to use in a season, in an off season. And basically, what that means is if a player's contract is up, you can tag them, which basically gives them 1 year extended on your team, and you get paid the I believe it's the average salary for the top. It might be, I'm not sure exactly. It might be the top 10 or top 15 or top 20 of the position. So, for example, the Browns decided to franchise tag tight end David Njoku. So that means that he's going to get, 1 year deal, which is valued at, I think it's just north of 10 million, which is the average for the top players of the position. Um, Scotty, you also had a franchise tag announcement. It's a safety, correct?
Jesse Bates the third,
Jesse Jesse Bates the third.
defensive captain for the AFC champions. So yeah, I mean it's a big deal. They want to sign him to a long term deal, but they have a lot of other things they need to figure out this free agency and period. So they now have till July 15th now to sign him to a long term deal. So they made sure that he's not going to test the free agency waters and they can figure out the offensive line and other needs and then also work on the long term deal with him too. I think it's a brilliant move.
Yeah, well, that's great. It's hard not to keep a captain of your team on the team. You know what I mean? So they probably gonna have to figure
Yeah.
something out. And if you're gonna do it, safety's probably the best one to do it because it's low. It's probably a lower average. It's like you don't see a lot of quarterbacks getting franchise tags outside of Kirk Cousins. Um,
Yeah.
the Browns, also with tight end too. I feel like that's also a relatively safe area to do that. Browns franchise tag David Njoku, which I guess they just want to see another full season of him dropping like 50% of his passes. It's hard to understand why they wanted to keep him around, especially when they have Austin Hooper, a guy that he's going into the last year of his deal, but he's like $9 million against the cap. So it's like $20 million just tied up in the two tight ends. That's pretty uncommon, and I don't know really what they're thinking. I mean, but now, my hope is that we'll get into some of the Broncos stuff, but the Broncos have a little bit of an opening at tight end now. So maybe there's some more wheeling and dealings to be done. Hey, and just because you get franchise tag doesn't mean that you can't also get moved, right? I don't know how common that is, but
Good.
um, there's also another kind of tag. I think it's called the like a it's called a not an executive tag, but it's a tag that basically says we give you like a we have the right to match whatever offer you get out there. It's like a transition tag. That's what it's called. It's very
Transition
uncommon.
tag.
A transition tag. It's not used very often, but I remember the Browns did it once with center Alex Mack, and he ended up leaving actually to go to Atlanta. I cried that day. Anyway, there were other franchise tag situations. Chris Godwin, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's a pretty big wide receiver franchise tag because
Yeah.
I think he would have had a lot of suitors.
Big time. Same thing with Devontae Adams. It's
Devontae
huge too.
Adams, yeah. Well, great segue, Scotty. I think the biggest news to drop was Aaron Rodgers. All this fluff, all this bluster, all of whatever. I don't know where you fall in the Aaron Rodgers camp. I think I know. I think you're more like a he's a victim of the media biases or whatever. But Aaron Rodgers, it was announced at first it was like it's a 4 year deal, $200 million, and that might still be the case. But then I heard a little bit of walk back, like he'll definitely be there for at least to the next season. So Scotty, do you have any? I'm not actually don't know. Do you have any other information about that specific situation?
The only thing that I know based on just really the alternative sources that are out there, like Aaron Rodgers' friends, the Pat McAfee show, all those types of things, is that that $200 million 4 year deal wasn't nothing's been signed yet. What they're working on right now is a team friendly contract to make sure that they have enough money to build a team to win. And so the exact dollar amounts and what's guaranteed and not guaranteed and what the cap hit's going to be for him, is all still being worked out. But the intent is not for him to be like the highest paid player and all these types of things, but rather to, make sure that the Packers have enough money to get out there and spend to compete and win a Super Bowl, because that's ultimately why he's coming back. So that's what I know.
I mean, if you're Bryce Love, Jordan Love,
Jordan Love.
if you're Jordan Love, are you scratching your head today?
If you're Jordan Love, I'm thinking that you are looking to be traded here to some of these teams in the quarterback carousel that need somebody. I, not to get into all the things right now, but there's a team that now has a quarterback opening that I think would probably really like Jordan Love.
Well, you just have to wonder. It's like a team spent. Everybody gets caught up in like first round draft picks, and I think the reason for that is statistically, your first rounders are more likely to be in that upper tier of players. Obviously, it makes sense, but like actually looking at the math, there's a pretty big drop off of how the longevity of someone's career. And it varies by position and everything too, but I think it has a lot of people scratching their heads as to why they were willing to draft Jordan Love in the first round when he's probably not going to play. I mean, he's going into year three with the Packers?
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
What did I do?
We've had extensive conversations about that specific pick a lot on this podcast, and you were all about like, oh, you could have him for 3 years, and like, it doesn't have to start right, because
Yeah.
the whole controversy is how stupid the Packers are for drafting Jordan Love when Aaron Rodgers is ready to win now, and
Well,
they need
all I
they
said, hold on, all I said was people might be scratching their heads and asking themselves why were the Packers. But I didn't say I was questioning it. Where are you coming from me all of
you
a sudden?
you've questioned this on previous podcasts. You were defending the Packers choosing a quarterback when I said it was the dumbest thing in the world. And yeah, all these people that you're talking about now, people are questioning why they made that choice. Yeah, of course they've been questioning it since they drafted Jordan Love. Why on earth, when you have a quarterback who is winning back-to-back MVPs, why are you looking for the future with a first-round pick? That's really stupid of
Okay,
you to
okay,
do
okay,
that.
okay, okay. If that's what you want to do, Scotty, if that's how you want to take this, I wasn't even talking about my own thoughts. You didn't even ask me what my thoughts were. You just want to be right about something and call the Packers dumb. If you actually,
I know.
if you ask me, I still don't. I think there was nothing wrong with taking Jordan Love then. At the time, he wasn't back-to-back MVP winner. At the time, he was like 36, 37 years old. They're looking out for their own interests. It's what every team should be doing.
Okay,
That's fine.
so
So listen. So okay. I don't even think that they have anything to apologize for. They made a strategic move based on the new information they have to them. They made a decision to keep him around a little longer. It's in their that is now in their best interest. I don't think there's no dumb. You don't have to go back and do all this like revisionist history. Was it a stupid move? Was it a bad move? At
uh,
the time, it was a good
you
move.
do.
And right now, no, you don't
Mm,
have. Yes,
yeah,
don't
at the
do,
time, it wasn't a
Scotty.
good move.
Don't do
At the
this
time,
just to
it was.
be. You don't believe
I'm not.
this.
I do believe this. At the time, it was a stupid move, and it was dumb because they could have gone to a few Super Bowls had they maybe gotten a really good wide receiver with that number one
No.
pick or someone on the D. They wasted a draft pick on a position that they didn't need a pick for. As you just said, first round is the greatest likelihood of having a really successful player and potentially even like a superstar roster changing type of a player in the first round. They decided to go for a quarterback and sitting on the bench for 3 years. And, they've won 0 championships and gone to 0 Super Bowls in that time span.
Scotty, there's too much going on to get stuck on the Aaron Rodgers shit. We could have a conversation right now about whether if you were that elite of a quarterback, well then you make whatever garbage around you make look amazing. We could have that conversation if you want to.
They went to the NFC Championship and they've made successes despite not having
NFC Championship?
that player. Yeah.
So if you're able to make it to I can't believe doing this. If you're able to make it to the NFC Championship, Scotty, in any given football game is like it's a one missed tackle from swinging the game, right? So you could argue that if you make it to the NFC Championship, and even if you lose, you were right there. So you're telling me that like a 50% better wide receiver 2 or wide receiver 3 on the roster was going to put them over the edge. Give me a break with that.
You just said.
How about a tight end? How about offensive line? How about build up an elite defense like the Rams did? How about that, Scotty? What are you talking about? This wide receiver BS. I'm tired of people talking about that.
You just said that at that level, one tackle could have made the difference between making it or not. Then yeah, I guess a wide receiver 3 that's 50% better probably would have made a difference. And
yeah, even with that guy,
it could have been literally anyone that was actually physically on the field could have made a difference. You know who didn't make a difference? Jordan Love. Jordan Love didn't make a difference at all because he's sitting on the bench.
How about this shit, Scotty? How about this shit I'm about to lay on top of you, all right? I think the Jordan Love pick is exactly what Rodgers needed to light the fire that made him play as well as he did. Without that Jordan Love pick, he's sitting back all cushy, collecting paychecks, going on his 12-day kumbaya retreats every other month. It was Jordan Love. It was that drama that made him want to put it to the team, shove it in their face, and he did, and he got rewarded for that. So how about that big guy? How about that hot shot? Huh?
Anyone that competes at that level, the level of Aaron Rodgers, does not need extra motivation.
You're so wrong. A guy like Aaron. Not wrong. You're absolutely wrong.
He does not need anything more. He wants to go out and win every single game, no matter what, no matter who's sitting there. You think he's intimidated by Jordan Love? He wasn't mad about it at all. He thought it was stupid.
It's not about whether he wants to win more or wants to win like an average amount. It's the effort. It's the mentality. It's all the intangible stuff that does make people great. That he has. I'm saying that he has it. But he
had it before that.
Everybody uses different things. Everybody uses different things as fuel. And when you're in like a 17-year career, Scotty, think about your job. You're telling me you haven't had 6-month stretches where you're just like, everything's fine. Like I'm not going to lose my job, of course, but like I'm just not feeling really motivated, and I'm like the person I'm working for isn't great. And put yourself in his shoes. There are lulls that happen. And if something like this, let's say there's an org change in your whatever you got going on, Scotty, and you know that there's another person that's like a hot shot, whatever, up and comer. Well, like, listen, Jack, I've been around the block a while. I'm right here, and you're gonna have to get past me to do it. I'm not gonna let you just walk in here and take it. You'd feel the exact same emotions that he feels. Just because he's Aaron Rodgers and he's this elite talent that none of us can touch and none of us can relate to, I think that's wrong. I think we absolutely can relate to that. And I think it played a factor. How could it not play a factor? See, this is what happens. This is what happens when we have too much to talk about. You want to admit that you're wrong about this and move on?
No. I mean, we can move on, but I'm not admitting that I'm wrong because I'm not wrong. The Packers would have gone to the Super Bowl and maybe even won one had they drafted literally any other person but a quarterback in the first round.
I think that. I think they got more out of. I think that I'm playing. Obviously, we're both playing the result here, but I think they got more out of drafting a backup that even if it was a small fire, lit a fire, than drafting some defensive tackle that played but not actually going to make an impact. Not going to get them across from the NFC Championship, one game, one snap, one play, 1 second to the Super Bowl. That could have happened to any. I'm done with this. We're transitioning, Scotty.
Okay.
I'm taking the win, by the way. Not that we're keeping score. Is McCaffrey going to get traded?
He might get traded. They're definitely shopping him. I don't know where. I don't. What?
I don't know. I just liked. I liked how that. I liked. How, I don't know. I don't
They're
know.
looking. I don't. Where do you want to see him go? I mean, there's
What have you heard? I haven't heard anything about it.
I think just that they're listening to offers is all that really I've really heard.
No,
They're
that
not.
doesn't
There's
mean
not
anything.
anything. Yeah, there's not. I think there's just a desire to get rid of him for some high value picks because the Panthers need some help. They're in the middle of a significant rebuild, and they're not. I mean, he's not gonna do anything for him.
The only people that should
So
be interested in like a veteran running back who is like, injury prone, maybe in his prime, maybe a season past his prime, but injury prone, which makes none of that really matter all that much, would be teams that are like right there, like the Chiefs. Could you imagine? That would be the team I would think. They've got Edwards-Helaire. They've got some backup running backs that they like within the build, like they like as locker room guys. But I mean, that would. I mean, a team like the Chiefs, the only weakness they've got. I mean, even their defense is great. The only weakness they've got is maybe the run game. I mean, late in so
yeah,
many of those playoff games, the reason they struggled is because teams knew they could just sit back in deep coverage, and Mahomes is going to scramble around and eventually throw it away or scramble for 3 yards. But if they could have a consistent run game, that would take that team to the next level. But I don't know. I don't know that they would do that.
the play actions and the screens for the Chiefs with Christian McCaffrey would be scary.
Yeah.
Like that would be a whole nother dimension to that offense. That would be awful. I feel like the two scariest teams that he could go to that I'd be like, oh crap, watch out, like this is going to make a huge impact. Probably would be the Chiefs and maybe the Patriots. I could see him just being like just a ridiculous, you know, just machine the way they use running backs in the Patriots offense
I
too. You
agree with
know,
that based on what the Patriots have been able to do, but I was thinking the Bills. I mean, think about I mean,
mm.
if the Bill, I mean, I know that's like the two teams that were favorites coming out of the AFC, but both teams are very pass heavy, and you get, I mean, Singletary played well, and Zach Moss was
It's all right.
okay. I mean, they were both serviceable guys for them. But I don't. I actually don't think he'll get moved at all. I think they're just saying that. But why would you put it out there into the world that you're shopping a guy or you're listening to offers if you weren't actually gonna make a move or use it as leverage
No,
in a negotiation or something?
maybe it'll motivate him to be an MVP next season.
Not the kind of thing that you usually use as a motivator. Scotty, don't you can't say that I'm wrong about that. You can't just say,
You're
"Oh, it's
gonna
Aaron
say
Rodgers.
wrong.
He's absolutely impenetrable to outside influences. He's a master of his domain." Like you can't say that. These are human beings. They have emotions and feelings and shit. Like for you to just say, for you to act like he's an elite competitor, like it makes no difference whatsoever. Like that's just I don't understand how you can actually think that.
I can't believe that you actually think that them drafting Jordan Love is the reason why he's a back to back MVP last
I'm
two
not
seasons.
saying
Like
it's the
that
reason, but I'm saying that to say that it had zero effect is just impossible in my mind. I'm not saying it's the reason.
zero effect. Zero effect is not. I mean, okay, sure, maybe it had like not a zero effect, but it's baffling to me to think that a quarterback that sits on the bench would be more valuable with that first round pick than literally anyone else that would be on the field potentially making that one tackle or that one catching that one pass that puts them in the Super Bowl. That's it. I don't know. And then
Scotty, I think that what it really comes down to is that there are few players that are that break the game, that actually change a scheme, an individual game plan so dramatically that it would actually have that great of an impact. I think most wide receivers out there. What? What are you looking around like that? What are you looking around your house
so,
for?
first off, the schematic changes don't mean anything. It could be someone that just jumps a little bit taller, or is an extra target, or can make a catch that
Okay, well
that
now
another
I
guy's
disagree
worst
with you
game.
even stronger. Those things are so minute, so small. Those are teachable. You can't. I mean, you can't. I'm talking about people that you need to be double teaming Aaron Donald every single play, or else you're going to have issues all game long. That's what I'm trying to talk. That's what I'm trying to say. It's highly unlikely that the Packers would hit so well, which you actually don't have a. I don't think they have a very good record for drafting elite talent at that level, a high hit rate. It's very unlikely that they would have drafted, instead of Jordan Love, someone that's that elite, that game changing, that would actually have a profound impact on the way the Packers play or the way teams play the Packers, to have that kind of an impact in an individual game. That's what I'm saying. I don't agree that it would have been necessarily better a better use of a pick than drafting Jordan Love. And hell, maybe Jordan Love sticks around and they still end up using him. If it's only a year, it's only 1 year for this new Rodgers deal. So it's not. I mean, so I don't know why you want to just tee off on the Packers being dumb. There are
Okay.
plenty of other franchises out there that make stupid moves that we can talk about. Speaking of which, let's talk about the Broncos.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting because the Broncos and the Seahawks had a big mega deal that went down yesterday. And depending on who you are and what you think, and I don't know which side I fall on this yet, you could say both teams made mistakes. Okay, so here's the deal. The Seahawks sent Russell Wilson and a fourth round draft pick to the Broncos for two firsts, 2 seconds, I think one other, like a fourth, and then three players. I think two defenders and Noah Fant, who is a pretty good tight end. I think he's going into year three, maybe out of Iowa. That's all I know about him. Decent fantasy, like a lower tier tight end one, whatever. Um, on one hand, you have the Broncos who just gave away so much in terms of draft capital, who are obviously trying to win within the next 2 to 3 years, like go deep, deep, deep playoff runs. They've got a decent defense, and they've got tons of young, I would say unproven offensive talent. So they have pieces there to do that. So it's really interesting to see them go out and just get like a veteran field general. He might have been an MVP, but Super Bowl winner, Russell Wilson. I mean, face of the franchise up in Seattle, probably the most influential Seattle Seahawk in history, right? On the flip side, you've got Seattle, who didn't do well last year at all. They have a lot of holes in their team, which especially on their defense. The defense played terribly. Their run game's not great. They've got Lockett, who's fast, Metcalf, who's a stud, who I think everybody agrees is a stud. I actually don't know much about their offensive line, but obviously, I'm going to let you have your time to talk here. But the other side of it is that's understandable that you have a lot of holes to fill, and you when you use all these draft picks to do it. But there are very few quarterbacks that are Super Bowl caliber that have been there or can even at least play at a level to get you there. Russell Wilson was one of the last few guys in the league that is that. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, you could probably look. I don't know. I haven't done it, but you could probably maybe look back at see like the free agents. Who can we bring in now that could maybe fill some of those holes that we need? Use some of the draft stuff we've got to make it work and at least compete in the division, even though it's a tough division. So I don't know. What do you think of the trade, Scotty? Which team would you rather be a part of?
Well, I would much rather be. I would
It's
much rather
tough.
be.
It's tough.
Well, I don't know. I would much. I think I'd much rather be part of the Broncos here because basically with the trade, both teams are telling you something as a fan. The Seahawks are telling you, listen, we're not going to be good for 2 or 3 years, so just bear with us. The Broncos are saying, oh, we're going to be good now, and this is our shot. That's essentially what this trade is, right? Both are incredibly huge gambles because the Seahawks they have basically assured. I mean, based on how good that the NFC West is right now with the Cardinals and the Rams and the 49ers, being where they're at, the Seahawks are looking at a probably top 5 draft pick
Oh
next
yeah,
season.
yeah.
They're tanking bad. I mean, Drew Lock, who they just got in that trade, is going to be their quarterback, which is not a good situation. But he's not going to be. All
No,
right,
no,
but
no, 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 no. I was saying he might not be their quarterback.
well, he might not even be their quarterback, right?
Right.
But that's the quarterback on paper right now, right? And that's not going to be good. On the other hand, the Broncos are going all in with a 33-year-old quarterback who, while he's certainly a Super Bowl talent, he's good. He's going to be good there. He's got a little bit of baggage. He's a little bit older now. Like he's not. I don't think Russell Wilson, based on the game that he plays, is going to be a quarterback that like Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady, who you're going to see playing into their late 30s. So you got probably a 3-year window of him, being in his prime that's going to win games. So you're going to win now. The problem though is that the AFC is so tough.
The
It is
AFC West is
so
so
tough.
tough.
Yes, I mean in
Ugh,
that division alone, you've got the Chiefs who are still,
they're the Chiefs.
just fine-tuned, primed. They were in the AFC Championship game. They're good. The Chargers are fantastic. They just signed Mike Williams to an extension. They got Justin Herbert. They're a young team that's going to be really good and competitive.
Barely
And
missed
you
the
can't forget about
playoffs.
barely missed the playoffs. Barely missed the playoffs, and they probably could have won some games in the playoffs too. And then the Raiders aren't that far away. I mean, they're a tough
They made the
team. They're not like
playoffs.
they made the playoffs. Exactly. So that is going to be
Yeah.
near impossible. And then once you get out of the division, you've got the Bills who are really really good. You got the Bengals who are the AFC Championship champions. The Browns might be like that's going to be really tough.
It's a hard division.
You've definitely improved your chances, but to basically mortgage your future for the next 2 years, like hopefully you win some
Hey,
championships. I don't know.
this is how Elway does it, man. He goes out and gets an established quarterback. He didn't know how to develop anyone, so he goes out and buys Peyton Manning, and they won a Super Bowl for it. So who knows against Russell Wilson?
Yeah,
That's kind of interesting, isn't it?
it is. He's the first quarterback to start on a team that he lost to the Super Bowl.
Oh, wait a second. Wait a second, Scotty.
Oh, he beat
We're
the Super
wrong.
Bowl.
The Seahawks beat the Broncos.
They beat him.
Okay, yeah.
I had that backwards. He's the first
Yeah.
first quarterback to play on the team that he beat in a Super Bowl. That's it.
Which okay.
Which is interesting.
Yeah, very interesting. So I'm interested to see how Denver plays because you're right. Like it's going to be really interesting in that freaking division. I just my only real strong opinion from that whole trade is how disappointed I am that he didn't end up with the Saints. And I know the Saints might not be. I don't know. If you're asking me, I would say the Saints and the Broncos, in terms of roster construction, are pretty similar. I mean, they've got a lot. They've got some decent offensive weapons, not as young as the Broncos are, but their defense played really well. And the Broncos lost Von Miller, which is, I think, one of the draft picks that they were able to use to trade to get Russell Wilson. So maybe they had a plan all along. But Russell Wilson with New Orleans, I mean, that just seemed like such a good fit, right? I mean, playing in a dome, older quarterback, don't have to worry about the wind and the weather and shit. You got Michael Thomas, Alvin Kamara, decent offensive line. You got a good defense. I mean, they don't have a head coach anymore, but it's the same system. Like they hired internally. Like they're not restarting all over the place. Well, hell, the Broncos got a new head coach too. So
yeah.
So I don't know. I think it was, as a I don't even know how you'd categorize my Saints fanhood. I like the Saints. I'm bummed, and it's such it's such a winnable division now. That Brady's gone, Matt Ryan's and the Falcons are in the tank, especially after all the Ridley news, which we'll get to. The Panthers or whatever. I mean, I don't know. That division is wide open. I wouldn't be surprised if there's only one team from that division next year that's even in contention because they are the division winner. I think they'll be the next AFC East, which still might suck. Okay, do you want to go Falcons real quick? Because we could talk. Well, we could talk about. Let's keep going.
Yeah, we gotta go with the moves.
Okay.
We gotta do
Wentzy. Let's talk about Wentzy. All right.
Yeah.
Just today, breaking news. Not breaking. It's a couple hours old. But Carson Wentz, after spending who cares how many years with the Eagles, after spending 1 year after spending 1 year with his old head coach in Indianapolis, has been traded to the Washington Commanders. It's going to be on paper, he'd be the first the Commander quarterback in history. I can't remember what they got. I don't think it was much. I think it was maybe like a
So it was a third round pick, and then a third round pick for this year, and then if Carson Wentz plays 70% of the snaps, then it would be a second round pick for next year. Otherwise, a third round pick. So
gotcha,
basically, two third round picks.
gotcha.
But they gave up like first round pick to the Eagles last year to
Yeah,
get him.
it's going to go down as a pretty big blunder, and it's going to make the Eagles front office look really smart.
Oh yeah,
Because um, I fully realize that two teams have straight up given up on Carson Wentz. They just have. Despite all that, I just can't help but look at the guy and like he can play he can play. Like he can start for a team. And I know that's not saying much, but if there are 32 people in the world that can fill that job, I consider him to be one of them. That's still impressive. I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying, Scotty? Like he's not a scrub. He has a lot of like technique and mechanic stuff to work out because I think his brains are fried from changing so much, and he's had some really bad moments. But the Colts, not unlike the Chargers, were right on the edge of making the playoffs. I mean, it was tiebreaker there.
all
So
they needed to do was beat the Jaguars, and they were in.
they only need to beat the
That's all they need
Jaguars.
to do.
They've got like I would consider it limited receiving options. I mean, they had a good defense last year, a good run game, really good run game, but it just felt like he was going to have some success there because it was his former head coach that believed in it. I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if it wasn't all Frank Reich's decision. Reckless speculation, but maybe he was feeling some pressure. Can we just talk about Frank Reich real quick because he every single season he hasn't for the 5 seasons he's been with the Colts, he's had a different starting quarterback every single year, and he's got like a 57% win record. That's really crazy if you think about
Yeah,
it.
that is.
He went from
Yeah.
Andrew Luck to Brissett to Phillip Rivers to Wentz. Crazy.
Now somebody else.
And
Yeah.
now someone else. Who knows? Kenny Pickett maybe. Um, but yeah,
They can't get him. We don't have any first round picks.
I think that Terry McLaurin is in a better spot. I think that not many other people are. I mean, he's better than Taylor Heineke.
He's better than Heineke. He's better than Fitzmagic at 40 years old. But first off, Wentz isn't always the healthiest.
Yeah.
So who knows if he'll even play a full season. And that full season won't be good. I don't think that what's going to be really interesting about this trade to me isn't so much like that the Commanders made this move. It's going to be what they do next because like everyone was predicting that they were going to draft a quarterback in the first round this year. So are they going to go quarterback or do they actually believe in Carson Wentz enough to like maybe sit this season out in the quarterback race, see what happens, and maybe they draft a quarterback next year? Like, so what does that do to like the draft prospects? To me, is more intriguing than actually the trade itself. Other thing though, from the Commanders side, the other thing though that I don't know what the Colts are going to do because the Colts don't have a first round pick. So it's not like they can just go out and draft a quarterback and see. And also without a first round pick, what do they really have in terms of trade capital to go out and get? To go out and get something. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So like, who's going to play quarterback for the Colts? I mean, yeah, Carson Wentz clearly wasn't the guy, but neither is whoever the backup is for the Colts right now. So
Well,
I don't know.
I think Jameis is still out there. Wouldn't that be freaking hilarious? It's like that's not going to be the long term. The only Jameis, what to do about Jameis? What a conundrum Jameis is, because you can tell the dude's got like some work ethic and some talent. I just don't think there's anybody that's willing to like buy in. I don't know why I want to talk about Winston right now, but we should revisit that list of quarterbacks that are still out there. But that's a big move.
We'll see where the carousel has spun next week when we talk again.
What's beautiful is that this isn't even free agency yet. These are trades. You don't see a lot of trades. You definitely don't see a lot of high-profile quarterback trades. I mean, okay, yeah, Drew Lock going somewhere doesn't out that in a silo doesn't mean anything to me. But yeah, yeah,
Wow.
Russell Wilson. Do we have time for? Oh no, we don't
I'm
have
gonna make it
time.
quick. Gonna make
No,
it quick.
well, okay. Calvin Ridley suspended 1 year, 1 full calendar year or football season, for making a $1,500 bet on a 5 game or 8 game parlay, which included the Falcons to win, by the way, while he was in Florida, not playing, not with the team, dealing with mental health issues, which I'm sure this is contributing to. Lovely. Um, lovely, lovely, contributing to lovely.
Contributing, contributing lovely to it.
Okay, thank you. Um, so he gets suspended for a year, and everybody's coming out of the woodworks being like, "Oh, NFL, like you're a partner with DraftKings, like how can you blah 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 blah." It's like, "Oh, the Stephen Ross, the owner of the Dolphins, was allegedly offering Brian Flores $100,000 for every single game that he intentionally lost." Like, how is that? Like they're talking, NFL's talking out of both sides of their mouths. They don't do anything about those things, but they come down on the player that did this obviously meaningless whatever. I'm interested in your take, Scotty, but I have to say the NFL can be as crooked and corrupt as they can be. Okay. And I'm sure there's tons of ugly, bad stuff that we don't even know about, and the stuff we know about is bad enough. The one thing the NFL absolutely cannot have is any inkling out there that the outcomes of the games are not fair. The integrity of what the actual play on the field cannot be touched. Otherwise, it all falls apart. Like it's like professional wrestling at that point, right? Um, no offense, of course. So I'm not surprised at all that they came down with this harsh of a suspension. I wouldn't be surprised if it's reduced, maybe, but maybe it's not. I mean, you just can't. This kind of thing. What we don't know, which is the real issue. I mean, Calvin Ridley. Sorry, buddy. Like this is probably a big mistake on your part, but they were able to track him because it was on his phone. They had his location. They saw the bet he made. He was in Florida, a place where it was legal to do so. Like he was tracked. And there are companies that are out there watching the activity specifically of players. What nobody's watching is like I've got my financial planner, like, or yeah, whoever, my buddy that has promised me, or like my whoever promised me a cut of whatever I help him do, and then all of the things come out of all the little clips of Deshaun Jackson. Did you see those clips of Deshaun Jackson? This
Mm.
Every wide receiver that's had these weird moments where it looks like they're cutting back to to just make a bigger play. And Deshaun Jackson is the exact type of guy that would do that. He doesn't give a shit about the yardage. He wants to. He all he cares about is the 1 or 2 times he gets the ball. He's going to try to get the end zone, and if that means that he has to go back 5 yards to go up 50, he'll do it. So, like, but all these clips come out where it wasn't successful, and it's like you made this weird move. Like this looked like you were trying to not score or like not make the catch or something like that. It was weird. I don't buy any of that crap because players aren't that smart to get away with it. I mean, nobody's that
Well, I
smart to
think
get away with it.
so. I think so. Specifically on that, like the criticisms or the analysis of players' actions, like I have to believe that any player, if you're halfway intelligent, you performing as best as you can on the field will benefit you financially way more than blowing things to make money on. I mean, okay, so what? He'll make $20,000 on a $100 bet on a parlay or $1,000 bet on a parlay. Okay, great. His game checks are $1 million, and if he sucks, then he won't get those game checks anymore. If he blows games and key moments, that's how you lose your job. So I don't think there's like a big problem with players doing that. But I agree with your premise though of like the NFL needing to crack down and not even the slightest inkling that there could be some shenanigans involved with players, coaches, or referees, or anyone affiliated with the game and the on field product could be rigged in any way or tampered in any way, it's game over. Because while there's some redeeming qualities about professional wrestling and being fake, and people might go see it because it's still a fun show, if NFL games were fixed, no one's going to watch that anymore
No.
because it's just there's nothing as entertaining about it. What's so entertaining about it is that things can just randomly happen and teams can win.
Yeah.
That's what makes the sport good. So it's definitely the right thing for them to do. I mean, yeah, I
It
would say
sucks
out
for
of all
him.
the
Man, I
it
don't.
sucks. I could see how he doesn't think that he did anything wrong because he wasn't with the team. He wasn't there. He placed a bet that was them winning
The
and
fact that he was caught tells you that he did not actually intend to do anything that was immoral.
exactly. So it does suck for him that he loses a whole season. He loses billions of dollars for making that bet. But at the same time, the NFL they got to do it, and they got to come down hard because you can't let players do that. You know what I mean?
What I
So
think is even weirder, financially anyway, the way teams and players and things do things like that, like all these financial incentives within contracts. Like you saw at the end of the season last year, Brady was just like trying to get Gronk like up to however many receptions because he got like an extra $1 million. Like once you
yeah,
and players do that for each other. Like a guy
right.
like Brady will do that all the time. But and we haven't heard anything about it. But are you telling me that there hasn't been like a coach out there that like or like an owner telling a coach like, hey, if this guy gets like 30 more rushing yards, we're gonna have to pay him like $1 million. We're cutting him at the end of the season anyway. Like, don't hand him the ball.
That definitely happens. I'm
Like
sure that
that's
happens.
crooked. That's immoral. Like, are
Yeah,
you kidding me? Like,
yeah,
and if
right.
I were a player and I knew that, like somebody had it out for me, I think that a lot of the times when players like say like a coach didn't like me or they had it out for me, I think that has something to do with it, or that's at least how you can
Oh, yeah,
tell.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that
Agreed.
maybe it's a
Agreed.
bit of a different topic, but all right, that was quick, and there's some other things we didn't get to, but we got to get going. So, Scotty, keep on the MLB, man. You need those games, right?
I need I need them. Listen, that shirt you're wearing is a byproduct of Free T-Shirt Friday, and guess what? As long as this lockout happens, you're not going to have a wardrobe. Neither am I, because we won't get those free shirts.
I tied a bunch of these together and I'm using them as bed sheets because I've got so damn many of them. I don't think I need any more, buddy.
I always need more.
All right. So if you've listened this far, you must, for some reason, like what you've heard. So, given that, please remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at ObsessionCast for all future episode updates and whatever else we might post, sports related or otherwise. Thanks for watching.